This shot right here recently came up during the Matchroom European Open, and it was discussed on social media quite controversially. Some were saying it's a foul, some were saying it's a legal hit, but watch for yourself first.
Well, you've got to be careful here. I mean...
That is quite honestly the strangest thing I've ever seen on a pool table.
I mean, of course it's a push shot. What's he thinking? I mean, what the hell was that?
Honestly, I'm not exaggerating. That is the maddest thing I've ever seen in any cue sport.
So obviously everyone thinks it was definitely a foul. Both the commentators can't even believe it. The referee immediately called a foul. But Quinten Pongers doesn't think so. So first of all, why would it be a foul? Well, what the ref and the commentators are saying, it's a double hit. This means the tip of the cue touched the cue ball twice. But is this really true? And yes, the official rules that are used here clearly say if the cue stick contacts the cue ball more than once on a shot, the shot is a foul. But if you read further, it also says if the cue ball is touching an object ball at the start of the shot, it is legal to shoot towards or into that ball. But what does that even mean, and why is it important for that situation? Well, if the balls are not frozen to each other, and even if there is the tiniest amount of space in between them, and if you shoot like Quinten did in the video, then it will definitely be a foul. So first of all, watch, and really important, listen to this sound now. Did you hear that sound? Well, remember that one and compare it to the sound when both balls are frozen. But first of all, what happens here? Well, simply, the cue stick comes, makes contact with the cue ball. The cue ball goes that tiny amount forward, pushes the object ball away, but then the cue ball stays where it is and the cue stick comes a second time, and this is why it's definitely a foul, because the tip of the cue will make contact with the cue ball twice, and you could definitely hear that. Now let's just compare that if both balls are perfectly frozen to each other. And this is important. As I mentioned, the tiniest space between those two balls, and it will be a foul. Okay, now watch, and really important, listen to the sound again. Now compare those two sounds. Did you hear the difference? This time we didn't hear this double hit sound. And what happens here is, if the balls are frozen, they basically act as one unit, as if you would just strike one single cue ball or one big cue ball that has double the mass. It's just one unit. And this means when you're now making contact with the cue ball, even though the cue ball goes also all the way forward, you didn't hit the cue ball with your cue stick a second time, because it's a single unit that instantly moves forward together. And this is why the rules say if they're frozen to each other, you can shoot towards the ball without it being a foul. What is important though is it has to be declared as frozen before. So the big question is, was it? So if you look at the footage again, you can see Quinten checking himself if it's frozen. But of course, this is not enough. He has to inform the referee. So here he did inform his opponent, which is not enough. The referee has to confirm that it's frozen. So now the referee is coming over, he's looking at the balls, and he's probably saying that ball is frozen, otherwise Quinten would have never played the shot that way. So at that point I would still say it's no foul, and even I have played that shot at the Derby City Classic 2 times before, just like here when I was shooting right through the cue ball, and it was no foul even though they played the very same rules. So why is it still a foul? Why did Marcel Eckert come over and confirm that it's in fact a foul? Well, there is one more rule, the push shot, which basically means if the cue tip stays longer in contact with the cue ball than it does at a normal hit, it is also a foul. But was that really the case at that shot? Well, it's on you to decide. Let me know in the comments what you think.